A little tour of my memories, starting with 1991. All right, now that's a karate studio. Second from left is Rivers, studying karate in 1991. He still knows all his moves, he just uses them on stage now. Now, a little bit later, there was a lot of bands before Weezer that these guys were in. Here's one that Rivers was in as the bass player. This is The Truth, a Christian rock band that his friend Kevin, there on the right, was the writer and singer for. They played about one show, and that's it right there. Now here's Matt and Pat, about 1 or 2 days around the February '92 when Weezer was officially formed. I don't know what Matt's doing with his face, but he was good at that. And as you can see, Pat's hairstyle has changed a bit, but not his demeanor. Here's an early photo of the Weezer. They can't have been around more than 1 or 2 months at this point. And that's how I remember them back in the day. I think I'm glad they changed a few things up. But I don't know. I have good memories of that time too. Now here's the official shot. Very serious band with serious ideas and serious goals. Now Brian joined a little later, and here he is in his band Carnival Art, which is before Weezer. He's second from left, and as you can see, Brian hasn't changed at all. He looks exactly the same. It's magic. Now when we started out, for a while we lived in an apartment on Stoner Avenue, appropriately named. But soon the guys moved to Amherst Avenue. And in Amherst, this house here had a one-car garage that we covered with old carpets and they rehearsed in. This is the garage that became known as The Garage in the song of the same name and appeared in our video for Say It Ain't So, which was shot like a year after we moved out of there. But the garage itself stayed exactly the same for like 10 more years, and different bands rehearsed there for a long, long time. This is the living room of that house, and you go straight ahead and take a right into the kitchen, and straight ahead is a small door that led to the garage. That's somebody else's drum kit in there, but like I said, a lot of bands got a lot of use out of that place, and all the neighbors hated them forever because it was not soundproof at all. It just looked soundproof. Early on, we played such wonderful places as Club Dump, which actually was a great club. I mean, it looked like hell, but we did a lot of shows there, and the promoter guy was really cool. His name was Yowza with an exclamation point at the end. He had no last name. Interesting guy. Club Dump was later bought by Johnny Depp, and they put about $1 million into it and turned it into the Viper Room. And it looked stylish, but it was never the same. Never the same. We enjoyed it as Club Dump. Here's an early set list from '93. Pretty good set list. You're gonna see something pretty similar to that in a few minutes. Except they're not gonna cover If I Fell. They only covered that for a little while. Now, the first written review of the band, well, it wasn't so good. Let's take a look. Another band that was trying far too hard to prove something or other was Weezer. This band was probably the most blatant Nirvana wannabe that I've seen yet. And while a slower song at the front end of their set had its moments, the remaining tunes left much to be desired. You know, I don't know why he had to complain so much, because most of the shows were free back then. I mean, come on, if you don't like it, just walk out. So here we are in Electric Lady Studios in September '93, working on the Blue album. And this is a great studio. Jimi Hendrix designed and built it. Well, he didn't built it with his own hands, but you know what I mean. Here's Rivers in that same studio putting organ down. I think that was for the beginning of Holiday. And here's Rick Ocasek, who produced the Blue Album as well as the Green Album. And he is the nicest and coolest guy in rock and roll. We love that guy. Now, Brian joined during the Blue Album, and he had to send us an audition tape to prove that he could sing. And here's his tape he sent us, FedEx. Hi, Weezer. Please enjoy this fine recording. Compliments of Radio Shack and Brian Bell. I hope to see you in New York soon. Thank you, Brian. Well, the guys listened to it and said, this guy can sing. Now, he didn't know the lyrics to the songs. He kind of made them up. There's some of the funniest versions of Weezer songs you ever heard, because Brian was just kind of, winging it. But he could sing, and he got hired, and a few minutes after he got to New York, I shot this picture of him. He's like, oh yeah. So here's some master tapes from Electric Lady Studios. That's Say It Ain't So, and 2 cuts of Buddy Holly, an early cut of Michael and Carly. They didn't end up using that one. There's 2 versions of No One Else, and Say It Ain't. I guess we ran out of tape on that one. So then they had to rehearse and go on tour. What's this? Yes, here's the original drumhead you see in the Blue Album. That's our mascot, Bacchus. Pat Wilson invented him one day, and soon we drew many comic books of his adventures. He was a terrible, awful person, an alien that just came down and did terrible things. But Pat later admitted he was just trying to draw Popeye. So we had to come up with an album cover now that the album was done, and we did some photo shoots. This was a miserable failure. You cannot sit on a toilet if you're in Weezer and put it on your cover, so it's not going to happen. Nor can you have gang signs. Some bands can have gang signs. We can't do that. Oh yeah, the search for the logo. This took a lot of time. During this search, Rivers handed me the following scrap of paper and said, it should just look like this. So we developed that into that, and then took some more photos. Got pretty close here, pretty close. And then finally we had a professional come in, Peter Gowland, a great photographer from the 60s. And we had the final product, which was immediately attacked by fans of the Feelies, saying, you ripped off their cover on the left there. But we had never heard of the Feelies. What the guys were really trying to rip off was the Beach Boys' Greatest Hits cassette in the center. The Feelies are great though. We just didn't know about them then. And we had to get a van to go on tour. We found this van. It was $5,000. Karls there, who sold it to us, looked exactly like Muammar Gaddafi. And it really freaked us out. It was like, who is this guy? Is it kind of like one of his body doubles living in Fontana, California? But it was not. But his van was awesome. It was an awesome van. We kind of thought it was like the A-Team van. We named it the Enforcer. However, it broke a lot because we did not carefully examine just how messed up it was. So we renamed it Betsy. It served us well for about a year. And we had a trailer behind it full of our gear. Here's Rivers, possibly the only photo of him hauling t-shirts around. Then we got a bus because we got on a tour with Live, and the Buddy Holly video was starting to go crazy. And Spin Magazine gave us a Polaroid camera and said, take pictures of your tour, we'll put them in our magazine. They used 2 out of 100 pictures, and they were tiny. So I figured you guys got to see a couple of these because they're pretty much lost to time now. Oh, there it goes. So later, of course, we went to Australia. And somehow I ended up with some posters that accidentally fell off of record stores in the towns that we were in. I just seemed to pick them up right after they fell off. I don't know how that happened. This is just pieces of a gigantic one that was in, I believe, Adelaide. So anyway, here's some more shots from that tour. There's some displays. Here's our set list from one of the Sydney shows. It's the only set list I could find from that tour. Here's the guys on stage, I believe in Melbourne. I can't remember the name of the club. It was a small club. That was me. Here's Michael and Carly, who the tour is devoted to, our fan club girls from the 90s. We lost them, we missed them very much. There's the homepage of our first website, the Rebel Weezer Alliance. Very cool poster from '95, and we're gonna wrap it up here in a minute with, yeah, there we go. Here comes the Blue Album, guys. Thanks so much.